All right. Welcome, everybody, to Comix Asylum Live. I'm Steve, and I'm here with Michael Schwartz, Superscribe, movie maker, and now, for the second time, I guess, Kickstarter Maven. I guess we can say that?
It's actually the fourth time. We can
Fourth?
go into it. Yeah, wait.
All right.
Yeah, fourth time. In the same book. That's what's crazy. So
Well,
yeah.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Well, thanks for having me, Steve.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you. Question.
Yeah.
Since it's your fourth time,
Okay.
how is, would they say fourth time's the charm? Well, third time's the charm for you. You did well last time. But how is the fourth time different from the first time for your book, Armored?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like a lot has changed from the first one. So each one has been pretty unique. So like the first one was my first comic, right? It was issue 1 and 2 of Armored. No one had read it. People had seen my one movie on Netflix I had written called Gnome Alone, which is a kids movie. So everyone may be thinking like, oh man, this guy writes kids movies. So kind of like an untested writer. Ishmael Hernandez is the artist on the book, and he hasn't really done anything in North America yet. He had some European books that he had done. So it felt like I was an unknown, and maybe we had good amount of backers. I want to say we hit over 200 on that one, and it was a really solid campaign, and we got issues 1 and 2 funded. And I think people came out because it was like, what is this? And at the time I was working with R.L. Stine on a movie. So he was kind enough to give the first issue a read and gave me great feedback. He gave me a blurb. I was working with Dan Aykroyd. He did the same. And so that was like such a unique experience, I'd say. Having the, an untested book, untested writer, artist kind of just throw something out to the world. And Jay Lee did the cover for it. So yeah, that was the first, and now we're on the fourth, and the comic has not only been kickstarted, twice, issues 1 through 5 we've had kickstarted, but that's the first one. That's the first Kickstarter. So 280 backers there. There's a lot of backers.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Again, I should mention this book is published by Clover Press. So they are they manage, they run Kickstarters for everything they do. Every single book they release is kickstarted. And so mine is just part of that process, and they handle it all. So they're the experts when it comes to kickstarting. But yeah, I was essentially nobody. And but now the book has come out. Kickstarter backers got exclusive covers, stuff like that. And then comic shops got the book. So it actually had this cool life where, it was kickstarted, but then it ended up on store shelves last year of 2024, where issue 1 sold out at distribution level through Diamond.
Oh, awesome.
And it did really well. And then issues 2 and 3 came out. And then issue 4, which had a David Mack cover, it sold out at Diamond and Lunar. And then issue 5 came out, and I heard Diamond sold out of issue 5 as well. So this is, it's like a known book now. And now it's like, we got to get the collected edition out. And in Clover, their process is always kickstarting everything. So now we're kickstarting the hardcover along with a whole bunch of new extras. So we're, so far we're doing well. We hit our funding, I think, within 2 hours. Our goal was 3,000, and they hit that. And now we're over 200% funded. So we're doing well.
Yeah,
but I want to get more backers, I want to get more people reading it. Yeah. Oh, 168 now. I knew we'd hit 160. So yeah, now it would be great to just get more, Steve,
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
There's
No,
still a lot of time left. There's 22 days to go, but yeah.
well, I read I think the first couple of issues.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was a fun ride. I love the art and the synergy that you have Ishmael, and it's always great because I think I ran into you at Gotham Central
Yes. Yeah.
here in the GTA here in Toronto, and it was a pleasure meeting you, and then obviously getting to know what you've done, and then the book, and then as an indie scribe myself, it's always great to hear and see success, and to know that it's out there. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when you're working away writing something in your little cocoon, you're not quite sure.
No idea. Yeah.
No. And it's great that you had that kind of a success, and you had the kind of endorsements that you did with
Yeah.
people like R.L. Stine and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah. And I definitely think it's helped for when the comic has been in shops and do it in the con circuit. We met at Gotham Central at a signing. And I think those interactions, it's really great. You can talk about all of this stuff. I don't know how much it translates to Kickstarter. Like, I don't know if Kickstarter backers are like, oh, cool, such and such like this book, or this person like that book. Like, I don't know if it translates into more backers. Kickstarter's a weird place for me. I don't know if I quite understand it still, Steve.
It's how do I put this? It's nebulous, because like you think you've got it, and you think you sort of understand it, and it's like, I don't get it. And before we started, I guess we could recount it again. It's crazy what it does to you as the creator, or whoever's running it, or if you're invested in it. Like, are we going to make our goal? And like the pre-launch, that there's so many stages. There's the pre-launch, and then there's the launch, and then there's how hot is it on the launch? How many followers do we have before our launch? And sometimes you go to bed and you're like, wait a second, we're really crazy. We're not going to get anything. And then you wake up and you go, oh, we got 5 backers, we got 10 backers, we doubled, whatever. And then each subsequent campaign, it's organic, so it's never the same.
Yep. It isn't the same, and it's so true. Like, there's campaigns where I'm like, oh, this one's gonna kill it, and then it's just not doing it. Like, I've seen other people's campaigns, on Zoop even. I've been like, oh man, this is gonna be such a good campaign. They're really gonna nail it. They're gonna get like 1,000% over. And then, they do well, but it's not like what I thought. Like, I'm like super excited to back this person's book. And I'm like, where is everyone else? Why don't they have the same enthusiasm I have? So yeah, it is a weird beast, I have to say.
Yeah, but it's fun though. It's,
it is, yeah.
It's kind of like, it's sports for creative people, I guess.
Yeah, and there's also this connection you have, right? Like, it's a direct connection to people who, like, I'm getting messages of being like, hey, I backed your book. I'm really excited to read it. Or they said they read issue 1 and now they can't wait to read the whole thing. And I love that. There's more of a connection there, because it's like, I told you, issue 4 sold out of Armored, but I'm like, who are these people buying it? I don't know that many people. So how clearly not all my family buying it. So shops are clearly purchasing it, and then their customers are buying it. But who are they? But with Kickstarter, I think you get a bit more of a connection. And I imagine you yourself, Steve, have run the Kickstarter in the past, so you'll see who the backers are. I don't see it because Clover runs it. They'll give me an idea. I'll have an idea by the end, but it's just interesting, that connection. I think it's like this direct connection we have to like the serious diehard fans.
Yeah, for sure. And you said that Clover runs yours.
Yeah.
So do they ask anything of you? Because I know when you do it yourself, you're kind of like, you're in every aspect of it. So you're doing the promo, you're setting up the campaign page, you're looking at your tiers. How involved are you with the with the entire campaign when you're
I
working?
have to admit, they are such experts now because they do at least one a month at minimum. I think they're doing usually 2 to 3 a month.
Wow.
I know a couple months ago, maybe they were doing 3 in 1 month, and they're such experts, and they know what project will do well with like which tier and what tiers to offer. But they definitely run everything by me. We'll have like a discussion before they build it, and they'll say, here's what we're thinking, and they kind of just show me an outline of it. And I'm pretty open to like, I'll give my suggestions. I don't know who came up with the idea. Like we have trading cards, armored trading cards this round.
Nice.
I'm a huge fan of trading cards. From the 80s and 90s, I was collecting all the Marvel masterpieces and Marvel series. And so I was like really excited about that. They went for it. They were like, yeah, let's do it. Maybe they came to me with the idea. I don't know. Whoever came up with it, I was just like, yes, that's awesome. I'm so excited. I love it. And but yeah, it's all kind of a teamwork thing. But then they build it, right? They have designers that design all the graphics. They really have it kind of down to, I think, a science to some degree. I'm sure they prefer it when they work with like these huge creators, like they just did a Jorge Jimenez Kickstarter for his art book, and it's like, that guy hit like $200,000 within a week or something, or 2 days. And so, I'm sure it's way more fun to watch what those books do than an armored. But I love that they support these indie books that they're releasing too. They put just as much care and attention into these graphic novels that they're doing by these, independent creators, as they would a huge book by Alex Malev or Michael Allred. So every book gets the same treatment.
Well, that's great. That's great to know. And I guess having them as as your publisher, they're kind of the constant.
Yeah.
So if you have people that are used to that publisher, they're just going to keep coming back for whatever they've got. And then, as you said, with someone like Jorge Jimenez, numbers might be higher because of, working on Batman, or they've been in the industry longer or whatever, but they're all part of the same team. So, to be on that squad is pretty cool.
It is. I have to say, it's pretty neat seeing, like, they just announced a Marvel Art of Tyler Kirkham book.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's kind of like, wow, my book is they're up on their social media. They're throwing up images of my book. And then in a few hours, I see like Tyler Kirkham's book images up. So I'm like, wow, I'm right next to some of these huge artists. So it definitely is a great feeling, and to be a part of that team.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's not aware, tell us about Armored.
So Armored is a as of right now, it started as a 5-issue series about a boy who finds a haunted medieval suit of armor. And so the armor is being haunted by this ghost from medieval times, who really has no memory of why he's there, why the suit of armor has chosen this boy. And this boy who's found the armor, he actually, his parents went missing 2 years ago, and he's been adopted by this couple, and the couple lost their child around the same time 2 years ago. And so now they've adopted him, and he sort of feels like a replacement child to these new parents. But while trying to find out what happened to their child, like, he goes to this castle where the boy died, he ends up discovering that Armored. And so the Armored's kind of connected to what happened to their child, kind of the mystery as to who's behind the child's death. It's a whole mystery series. It's a lot like, some people have said it's kind of like strange. It's got a Stranger Things vibe mixed with someone's, there's a podcast called Bada Boom. They said it's like Stranger Things meets Sword in the Stone, and I think that's like a great like descriptor of it. You know, it is an all ages book. I really tried to write it kind of like the way Stranger Things is written, where adults watch it, kids watch it, teens watch it. I wanted a book that like anyone could pick it up. Obviously, little kids can't read it. Like a child dies within the first 5 pages of issue 1. But you know, there's kids that are like 8 or 9 and they're watching scary stuff, so
sure,
they can handle it. And so that was what I set out to do, and that hopefully, you know, it ends up being a success with everyone. Hopefully, everyone likes it.
Well, I would say, judging by the response that's out there, because on the Kickstarter, you're getting some serious accolades, and as well, judging by how well the Kickstarter is doing so far, it's a success with everybody.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and so how'd you come up with the idea?
It was one of those ideas. I don't know if you're like this. You know, you're a creator. Do you ever just like get an idea? Like I remember we had just had our second child, and I was watching a lot of old cartoons, you know, like 80s and 90s cartoons, like Visionaries and Thundercats, and
Yes, yeah.
And I remember watching Visionaries where they have the hologram on their chest, and just I don't know, like if it was that or something else, but it just popped in there. Hey, a medieval suit of armor, and it's being haunted by a ghost, and the ghost is like the genie from Aladdin. He's goofy, he has to help this boy how to use it. And it just popped in. It just one day was in my head. And I remember sitting with my wife being like, I have this idea and I can't get it out of my head. And then I did nothing with it for years because, you know, I work in film and television. And so I was like, I guess it could be a TV show. I could pitch it as a TV show. I could pitch it as a movie. But it never really clicked. There was a very small window where I was working for an animation studio, and they were looking for a project for what's his name? Jackie Chan.
Okay.
They had just worked with Jackie Chan, and I was like, hey, I have this suit of armor idea. What if Jackie Chan was the ghost? And this girl finds the armor. And so that was the first time I really put something on paper, but it wasn't exactly what I had in mind originally. But I did throw it to them, and they were immediately, the producers I was working for were like, no, Jackie Chan doesn't like ghosts. And I was like, how do you know he doesn't like ghosts? And so they didn't even really read it. It was like a quick no. Yeah. So I just sat on it for a few more years, and then I don't know if I told you the story, but I had all of my comic books stolen.
Yes.
Around that time. And, you know, around that time I said, I'm never collecting comics again. I canceled my pull list, but then within a few months I was back to collecting. And on top of that, I was buying more books than I had ever bought in my life. I was just like, I got to get it all back. And so I'd say into COVID or early into COVID, I was like heavily into collecting. And then I thought to myself, why am I writing so many movies that don't get made? It's getting frustrating. I don't own the rights. The producers who pay me own the rights. Why don't I just I read more comics than I watch movies. I'm going to write a comic. I'm going to finally do it. I love comics so much. I love them since I was a kid. And I just took a stab at it, wrote a script, and sent it to a few people to be like, is this anything? Like people who had worked in the industry, and one guy really liked it. And then I hired an editor, and that's kind of the genesis of the book.
I'm glad you mentioned hiring an editor, because that's sometimes, you know, key.
Yes. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It helps. It gives you perspective that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And you know, sometimes we kind of, as creators, we get lost in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we fall in love with things a bit too much, and because it's ours.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need the other set of eyes to just kind of set you right.
Totally.
Yeah. So how much of a switch was it? And we'll get back to your film career in a bit, but how much of a switch was it going from writing film to writing comics?
I think the biggest was in film. I don't describe a whole lot. You know, it's like character walks in the room. Oh, there's a knife on the table, and the room is sparse, right? Like you don't have to. I don't go into crazy detail. I'm not talking about the wallpaper. I'm not talking about what the desk looks like. I let the director decide that with his production designers, set dressers. In comics, you have to describe every panel, every angle. You know, that was kind of the biggest hurdle. I was like, wow, this is taking me a long time to write this script. What, I'm like the director now. What's going on? I you know, I originally wanted to be a director when I went to film school, and then quickly decided, nah, I don't think I like being on set. But this is kind of best of both worlds, where I get to kind of direct and write, and I don't have to leave the seat of my computer chair, you know.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Your feet, thank you, because we were just making a film. I guess we wrapped about a couple of months ago.
Oh, nice.
And it's amazing. Thank you. It's amazing how long you spent on your feet. Comfy shoes. Comfy shoes.
And is this a feature film?
We're hoping so. Yes.
Cool.
And it's kind of like not to get off topic, but it's going to be one where it's also done immersively. So using the goggles that you would use for like, I guess the Oculus or something along those lines.
Cool.
So there's going to be a traditional version, and then as well an immersive version, where you get like a 180 degree, both left, right, up and down, kind of feeling in it. So it's almost like you're there, but not quite there.
I work, again, I'm changing the subject. I'm keeping it to this current subject. We're away from Armored, but it's okay.
Yes.
I work in visual effects as well, and I worked on an Eli Roth movie. It was like a short film for Meta.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the same one. Is it The Lady Without a Face, or The Lady Has a Face?
I don't remember what it's called now.
Because that's what we looked at to kind of get an idea of how
it was like these
worked.
Kids going into a like it's like Halloween night,
right?
And they go into a haunted house,
like,
and there's like a witch in there or something.
I think it's the same film that I looked at for reference.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
It was really cool. It was really cool. I don't have an Oculus or anything or any 3D devices, but like some of the effects artists I was working with would kind of show us what it looked like, and it was cool. It's cool stuff. So
yeah, it is a bit neat. Definitely. And it's kind of funny because like when we did our book Atrium, like it's amazing how, because I draw, it's like I want to describe stuff, and my writing partner Peter wanted to describe stuff, but then you also know, like, let the artist have a little bit of fun.
Exactly.
Let them kind of create the world. So there's that balance as a scribe where you're kind of like, how much do you tell them?
Yeah.
And sometimes, like Lucas, our artist, Lucas Flappy's fantastic, and I'm sure you find the same thing. Where, like, Lucas will come back with stuff that we didn't expect. It's like, nah, we didn't write it that way, but he knocked it out the park, and you're like, go with it.
Yeah, I've really loosened up quite a bit with my scripts now that like Ishmael and I have done a few issues. I don't find myself describing as like before. I think I would be like, you know, it's a low angle and the sun is setting at this precise moment. It's like, no, we're done. I'll let you just determine it, because he comes up with better stuff. Like even when I say a page of 6 panels and I describe each panel, he'll compress 2 into 1, and I'll be like, well, that's way better. And he'll even make suggestions on where the bubbles should be. And I've seen him in issue 6. He actually moved some of the word balloons around, and I was like, that's genius. Why did he? It works way better. So I love that relationship now. You know, like that groove we have, and I have it with the movies I write as well, because I work with a director, and so we have a shorthand where I already know what he's already thinking. It's like, all right, I don't even need to write that in. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you're talking about that relationship, and the relationship that I've seen on set, because I know how it works in comics, is when the director and the DOP are like 3PO and R2 talking to each other. And it's like, I'm not quite sure what the hell they're talking about in terms of like lens this and whatever.
Yes.
But you could just see them like, that works. And I'm like, and I'm amazed. And then you see like what's on going on in Video Village, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And when I'm on set, I just ask questions because I didn't go to film school, but I've watched enough movies that I kind of get what's going on. And then when you get the technical aspect from them, it's like, oh, it totally unlocks whatever's going on in your viewing experience, and also informs how you write comics and draw them.
Absolutely. Being involved in a lot of different art forms, I think, helps for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And so how much of your film expertise did you put into the writing and storytelling of Armored?
I'm not sure. Like, because I am used to a visual storytelling medium, I think it was an easy transition. Like, I already, I went to film school, so I already think in kind of angles and stuff, even though I never describe it in my scripts.
Mhm.
So it was like a natural progression, I guess. Like, I have directed short films in the past, and I had to make shot lists or storyboards. So it was like, just instead of drawing the storyboards, I'd be writing storyboards for someone. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. It
Yeah.
makes complete sense because I think everyone has a picture of what it is.
Yeah.
What, like when you read it, everyone has their mind's eye
Yes.
kind of takes over. And then especially when you're the artist, you're kind of like the last stop
Yes.
to actualizing what's in the mists, and you make it concrete, right? And what I find too, and I'm sure the same way when you're talking to your directors or with Ishmael, is that you said you let go, like you have an idea of what the characters would be, but then you let them go, that so they can breathe with someone else's vision as well too.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing that Ishmael's so good at is like the acting in the face on the page. Like, it feels like there's movement to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just gets their expressions and their emotions so clearly. Like, he takes the script and he just makes them come alive. And oh my God, I lost my train of thought there. But I can actually give you an example. Even with some of the new characters we're creating for the second arc of Armored, I had this character, I created it, he read the script, and then he just threw out an idea like, hey, what if the guy's in a wheelchair? And this is kind of like the backstory. I didn't use exactly that, but I was like, oh my God, that's so good. It just added so much more depth to a character that he didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
While I won't go as far as to say what I wrote was one-dimensional, he just added like an extra layer that I never considered, and I love that.
And that's the beauty of collaboration.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I find that and I give Lucas Peter and I give Lucas free reign to kind of come up with stuff, as long as it's not too far left or too far right.
Yep.
But a lot of times, because like we've had this conversation on our podcast or on our streams before, where a writer can spend half an hour writing something, and that works. That half hour could be 2 days for an artist.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, they're deeper into the text.
Yeah.
And so therefore they understand stuff. Like I was on set with Michael Pere, who's in our film, and he had dissected his character on a level that when he came to set each day, he was asking questions that I don't think the screenwriter had considered, right? Or the director had considered. And I'd be like, okay. And then, okay, I want you to play it this way. The director say, play it this way, but then I want you to then have your fun and explore what you're thinking with the character. And invariably, Michael was right in a lot of cases.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And so now do you find yourself writing towards Ishmael's strengths?
Yeah, definitely. It's also like, I love when he does splash pages. So I'm really like, in issue 6, we gave him, or I guess I gave him a double page spread to do. I was like, I want to see him do a double page spread now. And so there's little bits here and there. Regardless, I can't help but write to like the pacing I want. So I'm gonna, but definitely thinking ahead now to his strengths for sure.
Definitely. And if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to the campaign to
Yeah,
let
yeah,
everyone else know what you've got going on.
yeah. So right now we are, it just launched yesterday, I guess. Oh my god, it feels like it's been a week, and it's been 24 hours, Steve. Oh, what
It's
is?
funny how that is.
Yeah, what day
Let's
is
take a look
it?
at it.
So yeah, this launched. It says launching soon on yours.
Yeah,
Is this
maybe I have. Let's see. You know what? This is
try
probably.
refreshing? Let's see.
You know what? I may have the wrong one because I know we just had the other one up.
No, that was the right one, but that was like an old one. That was the
Yeah,
pre-launch page.
that was the pre-launch page.
Yeah.
So let me get that one up and running for you. There we go.
There we
So we're
go.
at $6,386 US out of 3,000 goal. You've got 169 backers, which I think has actually gone up either one or two
It has, yeah, yeah. Since we've spoken,
since we've spoken. So anyone who's watching this, let's get some more backers and get them even to a higher goal because I'm sure you have some stretch goals that you want to have.
I actually, I should say, like sometimes we throw stuff in, but Clover doesn't do stretch goals. That's kind of one of
Oh,
their things. They're like,
okay.
this is the book. You know, you want it, get it. This is the one thing I should say. So this is a Kickstarter for the hardcover. This
Yes.
collects issues 1 to 5 and a 10-page bonus story that was featured in. Let me see if I have it here. Oh, I don't have it with me. We did another Kickstarter. It's a bit more complicated. I can explain that after. I'll talk about this one, then I'm going to explain the last Kickstarter to you. But
Sure.
the 10-page story is from a Kickstarter we did for a half issue, an armored half issue. Remember when Wizard Magazine used to do half issues?
Yes.
I do a Wizards podcast
Yes.
where we go issue by issues, re-examining what they were talking about, you know, in the 90s. Now we're into the early 2000s with the magazine. But my co-hosts were like, we should do a half issue. And so those guys actually kind of ran with it, and they did a Kickstarter campaign for Armored Half. And
Cool.
so that book has like a ton of stuff in it. I can go into it after. I'll get you to pull that up after. But for this one, this is the hardcover, including the 10-page story that was in the half issue.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so this has a new cover by Francesco Tomaselli. And then the dust jacket, which is exclusive to Kickstarter. So if you scroll down, I don't know if you can scroll down at all.
Yeah.
You'll see that the dust jacket is by David Mack.
Oh, that's cool. So we've got some new interior pages.
There's some of the interior pages to give you an idea of what Ishmael does. That's
And I'm gonna play the because I think you have a campaign video. So I'm going to go back and play that when we're done looking for the dust.
Oh, there you go. There's the dust jacket right there. So you'll see it's got a David Mack cover on it, and then on the back it's got the Jay Lee artwork from issue 1.
That's cool. And this right here is the Jay Lee one. Yeah, the Jay Lee one is the first one. Now that's great.
So that's only available through the Kickstarter. So that's the thing. Like they've definitely made it so that there's a lot of exclusive content. And then, you know, there's some people that can't afford it right now, or you know, they want to support in some way and just want to back the PDF, and they'll hopefully get it from bookstores or comic shops. You'll get the Francesco Tomaselli cover in bookstores.
Right.
But the dust jacket is exclusive. The trading cards are exclusive to this. We have some mini prints of 3 of the covers that are exclusive to this this Kickstarter. So yeah, that's what we're in the middle of kickstarting right now.
Sounds great. Let's take a look at what Clover Press and you guys have put together for this. So we're going to play the video, the campaign.
This gives you kind of
All right, that's pretty tight.
There you go.
Pretty tight.
It just gives you an idea. Like on the other campaigns, I think there's even more information on the book and stuff. But yeah.
So let's take a look at what we've got here. Let's take a closer look. So story, we've gone over the story already. Let's check out our tiers. So we've got a digital PDF for $15. Then we have tier B, which is the Dust Jacket edition, which you said is David Mack and
Jay Lee on the.
And I'm seeing here that these are the cards. You get two cards.
No, that's actually in addition to the trading card set. So that's something new that Clover's doing with all their new Kickstarter campaigns coming up. They're doing creator cards. So those two cards are one's for Ishmael and one's for myself.
Nice.
And the idea is that there's like a spot on there that you can get autographs. So if you see any of the creators that Clover has done books for, you're going to have these creator cards that comes with every single book that any physical reward. And these creator cards you can bring it with you to cons. And if you see us, we'll sign it for free. And so I think all the Marvel Art of books will probably be getting them, or any graphic novels for sure that they kickstart will be getting them. So it's a really cool just bonus thing that comes with every reward.
Sweet. That's really cool.
So yeah, that is the exclusive Dust Jacket edition. It comes with the PDF and then the creator cards.
Cool. So that is tier D with signed.
Oh, so yeah, D is the signed one. Yeah. What's the one above?
That's unsigned, I guess. That's C.
Yeah, C is that's the trading cards. Oh yeah, so there's the regular edition, $35. And then this is the trading cards and the book itself with the PDF, and then the two creator cards. So that's the whole trading card set. So there's even some Ishmael Ishmael provided a lot of just really cool pieces of artwork that no one's ever seen. So we're putting some of them in as trading cards as well.
Nice. That makes sense. Might as well repurpose any art or character designs or anything like that works.
What I love about it is it doesn't have the trade dress on it, so you're just getting the pure artwork. It's really cool to see it. Yeah. Yeah,
that is cool. And then you've got tier D, which is signed with the Dust Jacket.
Yep. And that's not a book plate. They're actually sewing in the page I sign at the factory. Yeah.
Very cool. Because I was going to ask you how many of them are going to send your way.
They'll do whoever buys it. They'll send me that page, and I'll sign it, and then I have to send it right back to the factory. Like, this is crazy. Yeah.
That's some like MI6 type stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's tier D for 50.
Yep.
And then we have the works.
Yeah.
For 80.
This is the one where you get everything. You get the trading cards, you get these mini prints of the Mac cover, the J cover, and then it's a variation on the Francesco cover. He did two different kind of variants. One is with the three characters, and then another one with the villain kind of overhead. It's like a little boy who comes back from the dead.
Yeah, lurking in the hoodie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Baseball hat, actually.
And then what I love about this tier is you also get issue 6. So this is the first part of the next arc. And I'm hoping everyone adds it on. You can also, if you don't want to go for the works, I know times can be tight for people or whatever, and you want just the book, highly recommend throwing on issue 6. It's only $6. I'm pretty sure as an add-on. It's just a $6 add-on, but it gives you a good idea of where the next story is going. And remember at the beginning, Steve, I mentioned to you what's his name? Jackie Chan, that story that I pitched I had never let it go, and I had the whole I had a whole movie worked out, and basically you're gonna get that story in this book. This book connects our characters, Andy and Sir William, to these new characters. A new character that has a suit of armor, and their armor is also being haunted by a ghost.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, is issue 6 in this campaign? Is that also going to be your retail number 6, or is this a Kickstarter number 6?
I actually don't know what the plan is. I think it's kind of like one step at a time, but it might not. Either way, they've what do you call it? The price point is what they would charge at a comic shop anyways.
Gotcha.
Like $6. Like we're talking $5.99.
It's $5.99, yeah.
Yeah. So the price point is what it'd be in shops. So if they do, that'd be cool actually. So hopefully if it does end up in shops, it just may take longer, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if it ends up in shops next year, like let's say in the spring, everyone that backs this campaign, they're gonna have the first parts of the story in the fall.
Yes, which is cool.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll have a retailer cover or something along.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Something to discuss. Right now, we're just like, we got to focus on the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got the retailer tier. Speaking of retailers.
Yeah.
And so that gives you 5 copies of the standard hardcover, 1 copy of the Dust Jacket edition, 6 copies of Armored number 6, and 2 creator cards.
Yeah. So this is a great deal.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would go for this.
For sure.
Because one copy's $35.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of retailer incentive there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think what's great is Clover really, priced this really, really well. Like for people interested in it, it's not too much of a commitment. At least I hope not for people. But yeah, that's great. Hopefully some shop. I know. I think I looked at it earlier and it said I think a couple shops had taken advantage of this deal.
Oh yeah, considering how successful the initial run was, I can totally see that. There's no need for them to even worry about it because I'm sure they've got a lot of fans who would be like our customers who'd be coming back and wanting it.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And now the add-ons.
Yeah, and so here you can mix and match. If you just want Armored 6, you can throw that in. If you want a mini print set, grab that. If you want those trading cards, man, I want the trading cards.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. And then they are offering the periodical set. So like the single issues.
Mm-hmm.
They have some of the variant covers here that weren't available in stores.
Sweet.
So set 1 is a mix. So issues 1 and that set 1 has the first 2 issues with the covers that were available in shops, but then issues 3, 4, and 5 were Kickstarter exclusive covers. And then you have the half issue, which is super limited. We only printed 500, and there is very few left. I basically am giving a portion of what's left to Clover, and then I'm keeping just a portion for some signings I plan to do in the near future.
Very cool.
And like I don't know if I got into it in complete detail, Steve. We do have another Kickstarter campaign that we did for that book. That we did it months ago. So it's over now, but it's really cool because we have articles in there that have the history about the half issue. Adam Pope, who runs the podcast I do, he's my co-host and interviewed a lot of the original people who worked at Wizard, and they provided tons of information about the history of the half issue. So we have an article about that, and there's a whole bunch of articles that pay homage to Wizard while also being related to Armored. Like we do, do you remember the casting calls they used to do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was the best part of Wizard.
Yeah. So we do a casting call for Armored.
Sweet.
But that's exclusive to that book. The only thing that's going to be in the hardcover is the 10-page story.
Got it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like the fact that you're keeping the Wizard vibe strong.
Yes, got it. Yeah. I still have all my old Wizards. I got piles of them up here.
Nice.
From doing the podcasts every week. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, hanging on to it's like a time capsule, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I remember, like, was it Bart Sears that used to have like a how to draw stuff in there, and
Yep.
and then I remember they would like reimagine Justice League before, you know, you would do like New 52 and that kind of stuff came around. So there was a lot of really cool stuff in Wizard.
Yeah, there really was.
Yeah. So let me see here. We've got the periodical foil set. So you did a foil even for the half? That's amazing.
No, that the only thing that's not foil is the half. I wish we could have, but we knew it, you know, Clover wasn't kickstarting that one. That was kickstarted by the podcast. So we knew we probably wouldn't get the backers that Clover gets.
Right.
And we were really relying on our listeners for that one. That one was really grassroots amongst the Wizard fans. Like, if you're a Wizard fan, it really is a must-have issue.
Yeah.
And then if you're an Armored fan, you definitely need to check it out. But it really was, we were catering to Wizard fans, which there's not a ton of them, I have to say.
Which is interesting.
There are, right? But I don't, and we have a lot of listeners, but I don't know how many of them go on Kickstarter. You know what I mean? Like, the crossover isn't quite there. We knew that going into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. You know, anyone who is reading Wizard is from a certain time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So then we have how to manage an add-on to your existing pledge, which is great.
Yep.
And select change your pledge. All right. So that's kind of like a instructional section.
Yep.
And then shipping estimates, which is always great. And yeah, this is the part. Well, this is a US based one, but the one that we had, the kind of the revelation for us when we were doing our campaign, because we're shipping everything out of Canada, was that shipping to the US was cheaper than shipping within Canada. Which was
that tracked? Is that?
We did it through Chit Chats.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was just kind of hilarious. Just whatever, however their numbers worked out. That shipping to someplace in the US, I think it was $10, and I think Canada was 12.
Wild. That is so crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
I know it is expensive to ship into Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell, people, I'm like, grab the PDF, and then if you see me at a con, or, I don't know how many copies. It's hard because I had a lot of copies of issues 1 and 2.
Right.
It's a bit of a different story. I don't know how many I'll have of the hardcover. But I always say, grab the PDF, and then if you see me, maybe I'll knock $15 off or whatever. If you backed it, I'm always happy to do stuff like that. With the hardcover, it's a bit harder because I know I won't have as many copies. We did that a lot. I did that for a lot of half issue backers. I said, shipping into Canada is hard. Just buy the PDF, and then you can have the book for $5 then. So
yeah, and I'm wondering, because I don't think the tariffs have come in yet on comics. I'm sure that's going to complicate things. Hopefully not.
Hopefully it doesn't. Yeah.
Fingers crossed with you.
It is hard for us Canadians, the shipping stuff.
Yeah, for some reason it does work out that way. Yeah. No, well, the campaign looks great. Anyone who's watching, please go to the Kickstarter page. Make sure that you back it. It's a great project. I can't wait to see what you've got for issue 6, because that issue 6 cover is slapping. It's pretty fire. Yeah.
So the artist, if you ever need an artist, Steve, I know a guy. He's great. He's fantastic. So he's actually used to work at Disney. So he worked on Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, and he's semi-retired now. I met him working in animation. He was a storyboard artist when I met him, and now he's semi-retired, and he's looking to do covers for comics. And he's amazing. It's these these painted covers that are just gorgeous. Yeah, let me know. Anybody.
I will definitely. If there's anyone out there, and any indie creators or any mainstream creators, And actually, I'm gonna bring it back up because
Yeah.
this cover deserves.
His name is Jeff Dixon, and he blows me away every time with what he does. Like, look at that. It's got like an Excalibur feel a little bit. Got some
Totally.
Mulan in there, you know?
Look at that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's always amazing to see what other people will do, how they reimagine your stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
totally.
or even how they take your artist's work and make it their own. I think it's the beauty of the medium.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. So let me just scroll back to the top.
Oh wait, check that out. There's if you go back down, the collector's cards. Ishmael even drew for one of the cards. It's Ishmael and I, and Ishmael painted us. It is.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So one side of the trading card is him, and one side is me. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's front and back. Perfect.
Yeah, it's front and back.
Two sides of the same coin. Makes total sense. That's amazing. Oh, too good. Too good. So let's see if we have I'm just going to scroll up quickly. Still at 169 and 630 6386 in terms of the cash.
Yeah.
Awesome. So in a campaign, do you ever have feelings of like or is it only after it's fulfilled?
I think after it's fulfilled. You must agree, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like I'm just gonna sleep horribly for 22 days now. I'm gonna wake up in the middle of the night and be like, "Did we get an extra backer, please?"
For sure, for sure. Just just one more. It's almost like a telethon, a comic book telethon.
Yeah, exactly. Can we start calling people up, Steve? Can people call in?
555.
Yeah, place an order.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So let's get into the biz of writing. How did you find yourself into writing for film and then subsequently comics?
Oh man, it is tough. I have to say, it is not like an easy thing to get into. Like if I knew now what if I knew then what I know now, I think I would have told myself, "Hey, try this instead." But that, I went to film school. My first job right out of film school was working for Disney theatrical marketing. So I was working in publicity and promotions at Disney Theatrical Canada. So I was promoting Disney movies across Canada. And then from Disney, I went to work for Fox Searchlight Pictures, doing the same thing, promoting their movies across Canada. So, I went to film school thinking, oh, I'm going to be a director, and then ended up in marketing and slowly just ended up in these weird jobs like that. Like I worked for the Anne Green Gables producers for a while, which was an amazing learning experience because they had me working in publishing. They had me working in their toys. I was doing everything. But then a sales rep I worked with at the Anne Green Gables company said, hey, if you're looking for a gig in production, we are working on an animated movie here in town and we could use PAs. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I want to get into like actual production. And the movie was called The Nut Job. I don't know if you've heard of it or you remember it with Will Arnett and Liam Neeson.
Yep.
And I came in and this is an independent movie being financed by Canadians and South Koreans. And I just got really lucky. Like I was working with it was a small production crew at first. But something happened where I don't remember exactly how it happened, if one of them quit or what, but basically a whole bunch of people were gone. And it was just me running the show with the director, the executive producer. And it was like, okay, I went from knowing nothing about animation to knowing, like having to learn the entire pipeline. And at that point, I was already running the art department and storyboard department and previs department. And so, but prior to that, my wife and I were writers together and we were trying to get TV shows off the ground. We were pitching all the time. And we kind of both hit a point like, damn, we're not getting jobs. writers' rooms. And so that's when I took this gig, and my wife ended up getting hired to work on a TV show as a writer. So it was weird timing where I went into animation, she went to work there. And so we stopped writing together, but I still was writing on the side. And I made a short. So during that time on the Nut Job, while working on that, I made a short film for the ABCs of Death called M is for Manure. Are you familiar with that anthology series? So I did a horror film with manure, and we used real manure in it, and there's a manure monster. Yeah. And it's on Tubi. So anybody can watch this movie on Tubi and just go straight to M is for Manure. So at that time I showed the director of the Nut Job this, my short, and he was like, "Oh my God, I've always wanted to make a live action film." And I was like, "Really? What? Like, you're making a feature animated movie with Liam Neeson. Who cares about my live action movie?" But he really was into it. And we talked about story constantly on the making of that movie. I was also fortunate they were making a small interstitial TV series called The Beat Party at the studio. Okay. It was about animated beats that beatbox in a fridge.
You're kidding me.
You got to check it. You can check it out on YouTube. And so they let me write 10 episodes of that. And that was my first chance to get to write something kind of professionally. Mm-hmm. I made my own short films and stuff, but this was, and I made the short film for the ABCs of Death, but this was like the first time someone paid me to write a script. Right. So that was kind of like breaking in. And then after Peter finished the Nut Job, he asked me to write a movie with him, and he was fortunate enough to be hired to write an animated movie, and he brought me on board. And then we've written 13 movies together.
Sweet.
So we're like, actually right now, I think today we just had a meeting where we're going to be working on a treatment for our 14th movie for some producers. So
congrats.
It takes time, right? Like I explain it, but it sounds like it happened overnight, but it was, I graduated film school in 2006, and then I didn't get Beat Party, I think, till 2013. And then Gnome Alone was my first animated movie that got produced that I worked on with Peter. And that came out in 2018. So it shows you how long it takes.
Yeah. Overnight success is usually a really long night.
Exactly. Some people are just really lucky,
yeah.
and it'll hit, and it might be the right timing, right place, the right movie. Gnome Alone was a huge success for Netflix, and every single kid that comes to my table to check out Armored has seen Gnome Alone. But it was just that Netflix is one of those streaming services where they don't really promote their stuff. They don't have to. All they have to do is have kids sitting in front, and then they show a poster, and then the kids watch it. So there's no publicity surrounding it.
Yeah, which is it's interesting how that portion of the business is completely different from like the others. Because I can't remember the last time, or if they even do it, where like a Netflix film has like a press tour.
No, they don't need to. It's very rare. Maybe Stranger Things, right?
Yeah, because it's so massive.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. And so, and you may have touched on this before, going from film, then what was it about comics that made you go, I got to do that as well too? Yeah,
I kind of touched on it before. Like, I had been reading comics since I was a kid. So my dad's a big comic book collector, and I always thought the only way to get into comics was to draw comics, even though I knew that like Stan Lee didn't draw, Peter David didn't draw, Chris Claremont didn't draw. I always thought that was the way to get in, though. And I don't know why. It was like a hurdle I couldn't get over. And I in high school wanted to be a comic book artist. I would always take art classes. And my grandmother was an artist. She was a painter in Kitchener, Ontario. And so I thought, oh, that's what I'd want to do. But then when I discovered you could go to film school, I kind of dropped the art thing altogether. I was like, I'm still collecting comics, but I stopped pursuing it. Art wasn't a thing for me anymore. It was like, I want to make movies. I want to be a director. And it wasn't until, when you've written 13 movies and only 2 have been produced, you start to get discouraged, and you don't own the rights to them. So no one will get to even read the script because I can't actually show the script.
Yeah.
It's really, really frustrating. It's also frustrating to have to just keep pitching over and over and over, pitching. And then it's like, no. So I was like, with comics, if I hire an editor, he can help me find an artist. I could just get this made, and I just made some money on Zombie Town. I'll just use that money, and I'm gonna produce my own comic. Like, it was just like, it felt like why haven't I thought of this earlier? You know, it was like this epiphany, like, oh my God, comic books. I've always loved comics. Why am I not doing this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like working on set and then making your own comic book, it's kind of the same thing, but just with fewer people.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of the same sort of structure. You're still making a narrative with, images, one static and the other one's moving. But you're basically trying to achieve the same thing with fewer people and a way smaller budget. Yeah. And so before we go forward, what was on your pull list when you were a kid?
Okay, so my first pull list was The Incredible Hulk with Peter David, that run. Silver Surfer when Ron Lim was on it, and then Spider-Man, the McFarlane run.
Right.
That was my first pull list as a kid, and then it
pretty good pull list.
Yeah, and then it morphed. I added X-Men, the Jim Lee stuff, and then in '92 I added Spawn to that list. So I was getting everything Spawn, and then at some point I added Hellboy. And so that was kind of like that, and Darkness and a few other Image titles. That was my pull list. And then when I went to university, my dad was still grabbing me my pull list. And I started my own pull list. He lived in Cambridge and I lived in Toronto, and I started my own pull list that's when I really got into Jeff Johns writing. And I was just collecting everything DC. So I had 12 things on the pull list. It was crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Back when you could have 12 things on the pull list.
Yeah. Back when it was like $2, $2.99.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so it's kind of interesting because depending on when you dip into comics, like if you're lucky enough to come in at a time where like it's cresting up, you can come into some amazing storytellers and some amazing collaborations and some wonderful stories and comics. And you mentioned the Peter David run. Like I've been a Hulk fan probably my entire life. And I remember buying that before there was a pull list, like just off the newsstand at like a Becker's or a Max Milk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it was Bill Mantlo and Sal Buscema who were the creative team there. And then Peter David took over and basically transformed that character.
Yeah.
Right. And sadly, Peter David passed away, and it has caused a lot of, I guess, reflection amongst creators in the industry, because of just how there's no safety net for creators. And so if you can you speak to how writing in film and the safety net that's there is different from comics?
Oh, it's a weird time, I gotta say. So, I've worked in feature films primarily. I'm not a part of the union at all. I'm protected by the union if the director is part of the DGC or DGA, because then it becomes a union production.
Yes.
I don't get any of the benefits other than they'll protect me. If it goes into arbitration, they work with me. But I don't have those benefits. You and I are very fortunate, Steve, to live in Canada and be
absolutely
creators and artists. To me, I'm like, there's no better place than Canada to be doing this. The only problem is there's not the population to support our arts. That's the downside. So we still need to break into the US, right? So there's ups and downs to it. My wife, on the other hand, was a TV writer and TV showrunner. But recently we've seen the industry collapse. It really has collapsed. I'm sure you felt it working in the industry as well. There's just less productions. So I have to have a second job. I can't just be a writer anymore. Like, I did have a good run where I was writing 3 movies a year, which was good, but I've hit a point where the work just isn't there. It used to, and they always say feast or famine. It really is feast or famine, and the feasts are smaller now. So I've been working in visual effects. I've been a production manager in animation for years and in visual effects for years. So to me, I have to have that second job. In addition to my writing career having ups and downs, the VFX industry has had crazy ups and downs. Yeah. Things have just, it's just like bottomed out at points where there just isn't work. So thankfully, I've been fortunate where I now teach at Seneca College. So I'm now teaching. I'm looking to get into some other industries, but to me, it's important to have a second job now, especially writing in comics. There's not a lot of money in comics. Like, no one is getting rich off comics. Even Marvel writers, I think some of them are able to support themselves if they get enough books, but it's tough. There is no safety net, and a lot of them live in the U.S. and they don't have the healthcare. It's hard. I strongly suggest, if you want to be a writer or a creator, still try to have like a part-time job or something. You never know when things could get bad. It is tough.
And also too, because you think about how sedentary this career can be, especially if you're an artist. But like it takes a lot of sitting, and it takes a lot of, unless you work at a standing desk or whatever. And then you also factor in like someone like Peter David, whose stories help fuel what's going on in the MCU. And, you might get your name at the bottom of the movie, but that's kind of it for a lot of creators, unless, depending on what deal you signed or whatever. But a lot of people that are, and this has been going on, especially for the artists, since the 60s and 70s, when Neil Adams was fighting for, them to get their pages back, and also to be taken care of by the industry. Like this is just, I guess, Peter David's passing and the health issues that he was going through. It's just another reminder of, like you said, very few people are getting a yacht by going into comics. But it's something that fuels the imaginations of generations. I think
it's also important. I think creators, even if you get that Marvel gig or DC gig, definitely try to create your own stuff. I think that way you own it, and you never know, it could take off, right? Like, Armored's doing well, but it hasn't taken off by any means. But at least it's something that I can always have with me, and it's mine. Yeah. I'm sure it would really help if I also had a Marvel gig. But yeah, I think it's important to also get your own stuff out there, because at the end of the day, DC and Marvel, they're a business, and businesses don't care about people. The people that work at the business may at the time, but people come and go.
Yeah. I guess in the end, just like the characters, we're all products.
We are, yeah.
Right. And as amazing as some of the seminal artists and writers and colorists and letters and inkers, etc., that have, basically woven an amazing tapestry, modern mythology that we're all reveling in now, and inspiring, books like yours, Armored, Atrium on my end, right? It's stuff that like we're all kind of like standing on the shoulders of people that have come before us.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is that, and it's happening everywhere. It's happening in gaming, as you said, it's happening in movies with VFX. It's like the people aspect of it is the one that's getting the least amount of care. Yeah. So, what costume is Spider-Man wearing right now? Who's starring as Ray, or what are they doing with X universe, is more so what drives the discourse, as opposed to, other than the 1% of creators, are the next generation of creators or the current creators in a position that they're going to be able to continue to create these stories and come up with the next Invincible, right? Like, very few of us are Robert Kirkman.
I know. That's the thing, right? But you never know, Steve. Like,
Of course.
I read Atrium, and man, what a cool concept. Like, I don't know who's watching right now, but like, when I read that book, I was like, I don't know what to expect with this. I don't know where this is going.
Thank you.
And then that end of issue 1, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this to be this about this. It was like, it totally threw me off. But it's the perfect book where it's like, you never know, like, you don't know who you're going to meet at a con. Someone could pick up Atrium and be like, damn, this would make a great movie. And you know what? We have some financing set aside and we could probably make this, might have to adjust a few things, and then turn it into a movie. And then the book gets out there. Like, that's what's great about owning your own stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. I just...
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was having this conversation with my partners today, and like you said, you've written 13, screenplays, right? And
I've probably written more, but 13 with the director.
13 with the director, and 2 of them were produced, right?
Yeah.
And then if you factor in all the other ideas, because like when something like Armored hits, all your other ideas get ignored a little bit because you got to spend so much time on the one that's hitting. But you think of all the ideas that are floating around in your head, and the thing that you're always kind of constantly thinking about is, these will never see the light of day because, right? And a lot of times people are waiting to be saved almost. Someone is going to just read my script and take it. But you need to see Armored. You need to flip through the pages. You have to build up a fan base. And that's the beauty of Kickstarter. That's the beauty of things like Webtoons. And, Webtoons has its own issues as well, too. Yeah. But like, as a creator, you just got to get her done. Yeah. And it's like you said, if I got to work another job, sure, do it. But get the ideas out there, because there are fans out there and people wanting to read new stuff.
Yeah. And that's such good advice, because I always say, just finish it, and then try to make it yourself somehow. Like, whatever it is, just so that people can see it. Like, obviously, if you're writing, an epic like Dune or something, you'll never, it'd be a lot harder, but just try as hard as you can to get what you've written made into a novel, graphic novel. It just gets more expensive, obviously, with the different mediums, but
even audiobooks, right?
That's
like, make your own audiobook. So if you've written a novel, just narrate it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually,
because that seems to be something that people are into, right? And if you can get if you're lucky enough to know some actors and you have any kind of production know-how, you can make it into an audio drama, not just something that's narrated. So it's kind of like the best of times and the worst of times, where it's hard to be noticed, right? Because like, I'm going to be at TCAF,
oh, cool. Okay.
I'm going to be at TCAF this weekend.
Yeah.
And I've never been, and I'm really stoked. Can't wait to go there. But then you're also like, my God, look at how many people are going to be there, just as vendors and artists. And so basically, it's not like you're going to a newsstand in the 60s and there's 5 comics there, or you're going on to television channels in the 70s and there's 3 channels, and we got Fox in the 80s, right? So now there's 4. If you're thinking about being like a creator, there's hundreds of thousands of creators, not just in Toronto or New York or Chicago, but worldwide. Yeah. But there's an audience for you nonetheless. Yeah. And that can't stop you, but it just shows you how hard it is to kind of break through.
Yeah, it is oversaturated market for sure. But I don't think that should stop anyone.
No.
You got to keep going.
Yeah. Absolutely. So going back to Hulk, so we can dive into some Hulk. What was it about Hulk that you fell in love with?
Oh man, I was so young, like I would have been so okay. So I should mention, probably around age 5 or 6 is when yeah, I'd say so. I started my pull list when I was 6, and I think around that time my dad started reading me. Um, he started with Amazing Fantasy 15 and then read Amazing Spider-Man all the way up to issue 100.
Nice.
And he was also doing that with Fantastic Four. I think we only got to like issue 60 or something. But so he was reading me them every night.
Wait. Did you have the actual issues?
So my dad had the Marvel Masterpieces
Okay.
books, the hardcover books.
Yes, the compilations. Yeah.
But my dad does have Amazing Fantasy 15. He wouldn't. There's no way he's reading that to me though. Let's pull it out.
That's what I was wondering. That's why, yeah.
I think it would get maybe a 1 if he got it graded. So it's not in great shape, but it's still.
Hey, it exists. It's his.
Yeah, exactly. So he'd read me that, and I think it was about the visuals with the Hulk for me as a kid. And I love the Hulk TV show. I watched that show so much, and my dad had a bunch of episodes taped. I'd watch the Hulk and Thor made-for-TV movie a lot. Trial of the Incredible Hulk, all of those things.
I think that had Daredevil in it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah.
Death of the Incredible Hulk. I was a huge fan of the Hulk to begin with. And from the 70s. Myself in comics. Hello. Welcome. I was just such a big fan, and that's I think why that got put on the list. And then I had a Silver Surfer action figure, and it's you don't know why a kid likes something, right? And I guess those were the two reasons why those ended up there. And then it wasn't till later in the 90s that I started to really appreciate the writing and the art a lot more. And I remember trying to redraw the comics myself.
Absolutely. I'm having a little bit of mic trouble here. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, good. So it might be just my headphones. And myself and comics, welcome to the stream. And for me, it was a TV show too. Like I remember that first, what is it? The pilot, I guess.
Pilot, yeah.
Where he changes for the first time, scared the hell out of me.
Same. It was like really scary. Yeah. Or just him that I lifted up the car, like the woman describing, like. I love that. I'll never forget those scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I think, and I know the current Hulk run is doing this, but I think it lent into whereas like the Hulk that we might have been reading in the 90s was
very different.
It was like more superhero stuff.
Yeah.
And and really psychological under Peter David, because it was getting into the multiple personalities that Banner had. That Hulk series and what they're doing now, it's a horror, like essentially. It's body horror as well as it's monsters.
And even Immortal Hulk, right, did a good job of like combining them. He was on the run and there was all this horror stuff going on.
Yeah, and I think that's what appealed to me for that. And then Spider-Man has its own kind of world that you can dive into because he's in every man, every person kind of thing. But you're also picking up Spawn and Darkness for Image.
Yeah.
And so you definitely have a horror bent.
I do.
Would you say that's your favorite genre?
It is, but not for comics. Right? Not for comics. I don't go straight to like the horror comics. That's what's weird. I go to superheroes first. But I do love horror. So now I think lately I have been going a lot more to horror comics. Like I'm more into it. Trust me, I have boxes and boxes of horror comics. I'm just saying, like I for some reason comics I always associate with superheroes, so I'd go there first. And Armored is kind of this like horror adventure superhero story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Myself in comics, horror comics are cool. Yes, they are. Definitely. And I would say they're making like horror as a genre. It's never gone away, but we're kind of in the golden age of it.
Totally.
Because we're, the stuff that Jordan Peele's doing, Blumhouse, even A24 has some stuff that's absolutely just riveting. And, you can kind of find any kind of horror that you want nowadays.
comedy, horror, ghost
Hmm.
horror. Yeah. No, I grew up watching a lot of horror movies. That and comics were my thing. Yeah.
For sure. I'm getting more into the genre. Yeah, for sure. It's a long and storied one. It's you can take some deep dives, and also too, like a lot of the foreign films, like a lot of Korean films, just great horror as well too.
Yeah. Really good stuff like The Wailing.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, that was wild. It's long, but it's great. Train to Busan. Yeah.
Oh, that one's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So when it comes to how you do your writing and you're collaborating,
Yeah.
how do you and your writing partner Peter go about things? Is it like a brainstorming thing? Does one look after dialogue? Does one look after structure? How do you guys do it?
I actually collaborate a lot. Like, so with I write with Peter. I write with this director in Ottawa. He's a horror director, like straight up horror. Like Peter, we do a lot of
Right.
kids movies together.
Mhm.
This director, Damien Fannin, out in Ottawa, we wrote a movie together. And then I write stuff with my wife. Like my next graphic novel, we co-wrote together.
Sweet.
And um, I would say it's all about collaborating on the story together. Like we
Mhm.
really structure and just figure out and plot the story together and figure out who the characters are. And then we kind of take turns as to you write this section, I'll write this section. You know, when I work with Damien, I find he's very visual. So I like let him kind of, because he has to direct it in the end. I let Damien kind of run with the visuals a bit. I say, okay, here's what I think has to happen in this scene. I don't know exactly what you have in mind. I know he likes things very moody and stuff. So I'll say, why don't you handle? I'll write the bare bones, and you just kind of elaborate on it. With Peter, it's always just straight up. We just split up the scenes, and then we swap. And I rewrite his stuff, he rewrites mine, and then we swap again, and then there's that. And then with me and my wife, we have a similar um, writing collaborate, sort of similar in how we collaborate. She's really strong with dialogue and characters, so I lean more to her for that stuff. I'm like, oh, you got this. You got these characters. Yeah. So yeah, it depends on who I'm working with. There's different ways of writing. I'm kind of like easy with it. Yeah.
Right, right. And when it comes to comics, is it the same way or?
Well, comics, I haven't collaborated too with it. I pretty much just write the script and then send it off to Ishmael. That's how
Right.
it's been so far. And then when
I
I
like
wrote,
this.
yeah, it's been a bit different. I'm looking at doing another book. I'm talking to an artist right now, and um, we're talking about really working on the story together, which I'm excited by. I'm
Mhm.
excited to build that story with the artist this time, as opposed to being like, "Here's the script, go do it."
Right, right. Yeah, like having that perspective from the beginning, right, is really, really cool. And I know um when it was kind of funny because like Lucas, when we were working on Atrium, he would say, well, what about this? And I'm like, it's a really good idea. It's a really good idea. Like you were talking about Ishmael,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I just think that when you give your collaborators the room to express themselves, you just get a stronger product.
yeah, totally,
And they're more invested in it as well, too.
absolutely. I agree completely.
Yeah. And so when you're working with Clover, are there any kind of do's and don'ts guidelines, or are they pretty much hands off as well too?
They're a lot like Image, I think. I haven't worked with Image. I say that like an expert. But they're they pretty much let us do the creative, and then they handle. Obviously, they handle a lot of the design work of the product. But yeah, they're really good in just letting the creatives roll with it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And then did you come to them or did they come to you?
It was an introduction through my editor. He sent Hank, the publisher, the first issue that we had completed. I completed the first issue, and he sent it. And Hank responded so positively to it. I'm not used to that in film and TV so much. was like, wow, this guy really likes it. and so I was like, all right, let's go for it. They're a new company, somewhat new, and yeah, jumped at the opportunity to have my book with them, and I'm happy I did. They've given it really the time and care it's kind of needed to build an audience, which I'm happy about. Sometimes comics come out and it's like, okay, it's out, no one's talking about it anymore. Why isn't anyone talking about this book? And this book, it's been out now for a year, and people are still talking about it because I think they've given it the time and the space to let it breathe. Yeah.
And find an audience.
Yeah.
And Michael, maybe it's time for you and your crew to come up with a Wizard Magazine 2.0, but your own.
Oh man. Do you think people, I just heard, like, what is it, Us Weekly and People Magazine or something just got canned. Do you think people will buy Wizard?
Do it digitally.
Yeah. Put it, let's see if like Loblaws will carry it, right?
Yeah, why not? Give it a shot. Yeah, it's funny. Let me see here. We've got some more comments. Myself and Comics, nice, easy, making it peasy. He's like, collab with you both. Are you looking for like a finder's fee? Sure.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
That would be fun, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then LOL, Myself and Comics. Yeah. I love collabs. It's fun. I think the part that I like the best is the brainstorming.
Me too. It's great. Yeah. I love just brainstorming and putting all the pieces together. Yeah, it's tons of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got Vaughn. How you doing, buddy? Hey. So Vaughn is he's a co-creator for Atrium. He's a partner in crime here at Comix Asylum. So it's good that he was able to join us.
Awesome. I love Atrium. I'm a huge fan.
I'll have to get you the because I don't think you even know how it ends. So I'll have to get you the rest of the issues.
Will you have it at TCAF?
Yeah. Are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'll be walking around.
All right. So
yeah. I'll come back.
Your copies are set aside. You're good.
Oh yeah. No, you don't. Don't worry. I'll bring some money.
We'll figure it out.
You got to earn back. Come on, man. You got to pay back the table.
For sure. For sure. But hopefully that it will be that kind of a weekend where we are.
Yeah. When I show up, you'll be like, don't even worry about it. I'm giving it away for free at this point.
I'll show you my little yacht. Like I have a little toy yacht.
That's true. That's the truth. That's the comics yacht right there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have any other than Peter David, any writers, Jeff Johns, who were mentors, or anyone that you kind of like looked at their style and did
Jeff
that?
Was the biggest for sure. I wanted to become a screenwriter because of Jeff's comic book writing. He wasn't even a screenwriter yet. I just was so inspired. I was like, oh, I like the way he tells stories. I want to tell stories now.
Mm-hmm.
He was the biggest. And I know people give McFarlane a bit of flack for not being necessarily the best writer, but a lot of what he did in Spawn, I enjoy. I still collect Spawn. It's still on my pull list. But those early issues, how it was unfolding, I think that was inspiring. Stan Lee, obviously, super inspiring. The list goes on, Steve.
Yes.
I could go on and on and on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We have a question from Vaughn.
Yeah.
He says, who did you print your graphic novel with? You've already said it, but I'll let you go ahead with it.
Yeah, Armored is published through Clover Press. So they handle all the printing, shipping, distribution, all of that. So yeah, I'm a bit in a different situation than with you guys in Atrium, because you guys handle the printing, right?
Yeah, we went through Brenner in San Antonio.
Oh, okay, cool. Maybe you'll have to give me their contact info. I might have something I want to get printed.
Yeah, well, we'll talk. We'll talk on the weekend for sure. And let's get back to the writing a little bit, because the inspirations are always there, and you think, okay, I'm going to make this kind of story, and I'm going to use, let's just say, Jeff Johns and pacing and the atmosphere of a McFarlane story, and I'm going to make what I'm going to make. And you work with your collaborators and you're like, okay, this slaps. Do you ever know when you're writing, whether it's for film or for comics, whether it's like, yeah, the audience is really going to get this, or is it always like cross your fingers and hope?
It's usually if I like it. If I like it, I'm like, there's at least one other person that'll like this. I have to get really into it. Like there's stuff I've written where I'm like, I'm just not into this. This is not, I have like a pitch for a comic series and I was just sitting on it and I was like, maybe I should send it out, but I didn't love it. And so I knew that wasn't, I had to put it down. I've since rewritten it. So I think I'll bring it out, maybe pitch it again. But it's when I like it, because you're going to be living with that, especially us indie creators. We're going to be living with it for like 5 years.
Yes.
We get these stuff printed and we got books to sell. We got to get through it. So you got to love it. You really have to love it.
Especially when you're going over the elevator pitch at a con over and over.
Yeah. Boy finds haunted suit of armor. Boy finds haunted suit of armor.
And speaking of that, let's go back to the
man, we got another one. Look at that.
We got another one. We've cracked 6,400, so it's good.
Oh, that's I'd be so happy if we hit 200 this campaign, and I'm like, oh, we're just getting there. That's so good. I love it.
And is this one already a project that they love?
Yeah, it would. The day before launch, Clover messaged me and said, "Hey, Kickstarter is calling it a project they love."
That's amazing.
I was like, "What? That's crazy!" The day before. Thank you, myself and comics.
Yeah, no, which is that's what you want, right? Like you kind of want that recognition. You want people to see like the fruits of your labor and all the hard work that you've put in. And when it's recognized by the audience as well as the platform that you're doing your crowdfunding through, I think Armored would have been a great book to have at MCAF or something like TCAF. It's got that really mass appeal. The art's great. The writing's great. Yeah. So for all that you've done, kudos. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Yeah. And do you have any plans for like an expanded sort of universe once you've done this next set from 6 on to wherever you're going?
Well, the goal, I'm telling kind of a somewhat big story, depending on how well it does overall in the next, months or even next year. Regardless, I'm going to tell the story in either 15 issues or 20. 15 if it just, if it keeps moving along the way it is, I'm going to try and wrap it up in 15. But if it gets more and more attention, 20, and if it gets even bigger, I could go to 50. But there will be a finite number of issues. But there's tons of spin-off opportunities, Steve. When you read issue 6, you'll say, "Oh, that's what they could do."
Got it.
I'd love to get other creators on board. I have so many. Like, I would love the opportunity to be like, "Steve, can you handle this book for me?"
Got it.
Like that would be the dream. And there's lots of opportunities for characters to have their own book.
Yeah. Like a contained universe or...
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And then we got to make this into a movie.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
All right. Anyone out there listening, anyone out there watching, Armored needs to be brought to live action or animation, whichever. It's ripe for that. It's definitely that. It's got all the elements. Man, look at this. This art is great.
Yeah, it's all penciled, inked, and then he watercolors it. And then Farron Delgado does all the lettering.
That's great. Like it just everything just kind of fits. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. Nothing seems out of place. It's a pretty solid team you've got there. And speaking of Jeff Johns, very cool.
Yeah. I hounded him. I was fortunate enough to meet him. And we have a mutual connection, and so I contacted him and just was like, "Hey, could you read my comic?" And He's like, sure. And he was so busy with the launch of Ghost Machine at the time.
Right.
And I was like, would you mind reading my book? Hey, have you read it? Have you read it? Have you read it? He just would not stop. And I'm sure he was like, God damn it, I got to read this guy. And then he read it and he sent me this, this email with basically that written in it. I was like, can I use this as a blurb? And he's like, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And that's the one thing I would say about Jeff Johns, and for the majority of comic book creators, they're really accessible. Like if there's not a lot, that's the one thing that impressed us. Like Gail Simone gave us our first kind of like real big boost for issue 1.
Oh, amazing.
When she said, hey, if you got a project out there, I think it was on Twitter or X, if you have a project out there, show me your covers or show me what it is. And so I posted the cover for issue 1, and she goes, I'd buy this. And that really helped push our first campaign. And she's done some great stuff. There's an artist named Danny Earls out of the UK.
Oh, he's so good. Yeah.
He's so good. Danny Earls, like just the way that he can imagine a background and then actualize it.
It's insane.
It's insane. And the thing about it is, like, he's got so much talent because, like, he's also a former professional soccer player. So it's like, Batman. I'm billionaire by day and crime fighter by night. He's soccer player by day and comic artist by night.
Yeah, he's like, oh, if this comic thing doesn't work out, I'll just go back into being a professional soccer player.
But it's amazing how talented people can be in different disciplines and have that all be in the same body. It's kind of crazy. It's
pretty funny. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's great that Jeff Johns gave you that shout out. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's almost like like when you get portfolio reviews at a con, it doesn't hurt to give someone else either the knowledge or that little push they need, because they might be the next Todd, they might be the next Michael Schwartz, they might be the next Jorge Jimenez. Like,
totally. Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Michael, I want to thank you for coming on the stream. It was awesome. Had a great time chopping it up with you.
Yeah, it was a great time, man.
Hopefully I'll get to see you this weekend. What can people expect from you? Obviously you have still the campaign, but is there anything else that people should look out for? Because I know you were on set a couple of days ago. If you can talk about that.
Actually, it wasn't set. It's the early stages of another horror movie. So we were actually in a writer's room.
Sweet. I love that.
Yeah. So we were in a writer's room working on another horror movie. So
you can't if you're under non-disclosure.
No, that's fine. That the horror films, whatever. So the director that I worked with on this horror film, the film I co-wrote with him and he shot last year should be coming to film festivals probably early 2026. I've written a new R.L. Stine movie. The last one I wrote was Zombie Town for Hulu, and so I've written a new one. We just handed in the second draft a few weeks ago. I have another book coming out from Clover called Till Death that I co-wrote with my wife. We're looking to kickstart that November.
Cool.
So that'll be a lot of fun. It's another ghost story. So it's got horror. It's got some romance in it. There's some cool stuff. There's some really cool stuff in this book.
Excellent.
The cover is by Tula Lotte.
Oh, cool.
And the artwork's by an Italian artist named Gaia Cardinali.
Okay.
So really looking forward to that and sharing more about that. And I think that's it. And then I have a pitch to adapt a pretty well-known comic book writer artist's one of his unknown graphic novels, a kid's graphic novel.
Oh, wow.
Did. And I had a meeting about it today, and we have to put a pitch together for next week. So that one's really exciting because I actually didn't bring up that I collected his books in the 90s too, and 80s a little bit.
Okay.
So, and you may have, that's all I can say because the pitch could go so poorly, but I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome though. Like just the fact that, because now you got my attention kind of peaked as like, who could that be that has an unknown kind of unknown graphic novel.
Kind of, yeah. Think of someone that does indie books, but also has probably one of the largest books in comics that was independent.
Wow.
That's all I'll say. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And this is one of his kind of somewhat unknown books. Yeah.
Nice. And great comic stream. Looking forward to
Thank
it.
you.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
If Myself in Comics, you should head over to the Kickstarter page and take a closer look at it. It's a great book. It's a great book and a great story. And the creators have put their heart and souls into it. And so,
and if anyone's in Canada or in Toronto, go to TCAF and check out Steve, and I'll be walking around.
Yeah, so you might be able to see Mike. And TCAF is an annual event here in Toronto. It's one of the biggest indie comic events that you're going to get. It's a lot of indie creators, a lot of small publishers, and it used to be at the Reference Library, but now it's been moved. I think this is the first year to the, I guess, Metropolitan University, which is formerly Ryerson. So it's going to be at the old Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yes.
So the Matamé Athletic Center on Saturday and Sunday. So if you are big into that, then please come down, check it out. Not just me and everyone at Comix Asylum, but all of the different creators, because if you want indie books and indie art and indie creators, this is the weekend for you in Toronto for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
All right. So Michael, I want to thank you for everything.
Thank you. No, thank you, Steve. Are you kidding?
No worries. It was great. It was great chopping it up.
Yeah, you got us some more. You got us some more backers. It's great.
Anything we can do to help, and so hopefully those numbers will tick up as the evening goes on for sure.
Thank you, Myself in Comics. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Keep it indie, everybody, and have a good night.